What are fractions? This is the Thai translation of fraction. Fraction consists of a numerator displayed above a line and a non-zero denominator displayed below that line. You will better understand this definition by this. Fractions are what? Fractions consists of numerator and denominator separated by this line. But remember that in numerator all should be integers, and in denominator there are also integers. Integers means positive numbers, 0 and negative numbers. So this is called fraction. Fraction consists of numerator displayed above a line and a non-zero denominator, this displayed below that line. Now here what is the numerator? Numerator here is 1, that is also a integer, but this is not called the integer. As a whole it is called a fraction. Numerator, line and then denominator, this is what? Fraction. And in denominator, which number it is? Denominator 2. Okay. Now in fraction the numerator can be 0. Now in fraction, in the numerator there may be any integer, that is negative numbers, 0 or positive numbers. And in numerator there can be also a 0, just like this example, this numerator 0. But remember that when in fraction, in numerator, if there is 0, then the answer always equals to 0, no matter whatever here in denominator. But here in numerator here is 0, so the answer is 0. And so this same example, in numerator there is 0, in denominator whatever there is in a denominator, but the answer always 0. At the same, numerator 0, denominator 70, but the answer 0. Why? Because the numerator has 0. Now in fraction the numerator can be 0, this, but the denominator should not be equal to 0. In denominator there can be positive numbers, negative numbers, but there should not be 0. Why? Because if in denominator there is 0, then the function is undefined, that is the function not remains that function. For example, if in denominator there is 0, then this equals always infinity, as if in numerator then the answer always equals 0, whatever there is in denominator. Same, when in denominator there is 0, the answer always equals this sign or symbol. What this sign called? This sign called infinity, and the function become undefined. So in denominator there should not be equal to 0. There should not be 0. The same, whatever in numerator, the answer same infinity, because here in denominator their number is 0, that's why the answer infinity. Again it is undefined and it is not any function, means it not comes in any category. It not remain real, it not remain rational, it not remain irrational, so it just becomes undefined. Undefined means it can't be defined, or in mathematics this is a symbol infinity, not this any function. So what the two things, numerator can be 0, and when in numerator there is 0, the answer always equals 0. And second thing, the denominator should not be equal to 0. If denominator equal to 0, then the answer always comes infinity, and that is undefined. The same thing, in denominator there is 0, so answer infinity. So when in denominator the number is 0, answer infinity, and when in numerator the number 0, answer 0. These two are constants. Okay. Now decimal. This is the Thai translation of decimal. Fractions can also be written in decimal form. Decimal is just like chut. This is the fraction because it contains numerator and denominator. So this value equals what? 0.5. Sun chut ha. So this is called decimal form. This one called decimal, and this form is fraction form. So the fractions can also be written in the decimal form. This fraction form 3, 4, this one is fraction because it contains numerator and denominator. Numerator the number is 3 and denominator the number is 4, and what this value equals? 0.75. Sunchut Chedha. So this form is called what? Decimal, because it contains chut, decimal. So this is called decimal form, and this decimal form is of this fraction 3/4. Okay, now this is the very important. You have to concentrate on this, as we study that integers and fractions are basically two categories of rational numbers. This fractions and integers are two categories of rational numbers. Now the integers can also be written in the decimal form. Okay, so look at here, the integers are what? 0, positive numbers, negative numbers. Now integers can also be written like this, means it is always considered that whenever there is a number in denominator there is always 1. Okay, this is the integer and this is ratio of integers, and this is considered just like here no any sign, but it is considered as positive plus 1. Same here in denominator, here always considered as 1. This is integers, and integers can also be written in decimal form, but in integers there is always a 0.0. Whenever you see anywhere 0.0 decimal form means it is integer. Sun chut sun. Okay, whenever there is 0.0 then that is integer. And now the fractions. In fractions, in denominator there is always any number that is not the 1, not the 1, and should not be equal to 0. If equal to 0, then it becomes what? Infinity. So in fractions, the denominator should be not equal to 0 and not 1, because 1 means this integers. So in fractions, other integers, these are called fractions, where in denominator there are other integers. Here in denominator the number 3, here denominator number 4, denominator number 8, denominator number 5. This is the ratio of integers. Now in decimal form, always fractions, there is after the decimal point, means after this chut, there is another number, not 0. Just like here, if after decimal there is 0, means it is integers, and if after decimal there is any other number, means it is fraction. So this is the basic difference of decimal form of fractions and integers. Many students confuse about decimal form of integers and fractions, that how to differentiate decimal forms as integers and fractions. Simple, when in decimal form there is no any number, means 0, and it just ends here, means if minus 2.05, then it is not integer, it is fraction. So there should be the 0, and the number should be end here. So minus 2.0 integers, and when there is any other numbers, so other than the 0, then it is fractions.